4 weeks ago it was sleeting in April, and now it is 92 degrees in May. Spring this year needs to go home because I'm pretty sure it's drunk. I've already planted everything that I'm going to plant out of my greenhouse. So at this point, these plants are just going to be sold or given to friends, and they are really struggling with the heat. I can hardly blame them. It's 100 degrees in here. It's actually about 3 in the afternoon right now, which at this point, I've pretty much wrapped up everything that I need to do outside. But then I thought about the greenhouse, and whereas before it got this hot, I was watering it about every 3rd day, and that was sufficient. Right now, within 24 hours, plants are starting to wilt again because they're getting kind of big for their cups, and it's just really, really hot. So I'm going to go ahead and give them another good dousing of water, and then we're going to run through the goat yard and take a look at them. I want to show y'all what's going on out there. This little guy has been chilling in this basil cup every time I come out here for like several weeks. Always the same cup. My kids call him Toady. Actually, they call every toad that they find on the farm Toady. And every time they find a toad, they're like, Toady, you came back. And I've tried to tell them that there's more than one toad living on this farm. But no, everyone is Toady. It's hot in here. Alright, let's go to the let's go to the goat yard. Hey, Bear. Hey, Bear. We actually got 2 new goats last week. Here's one of them. This is Clover. She is a La Mancha, as you can tell by her lack of external ears. Hey, pretty girl. She and the other one, Anna, are both in milk, so we've been milking them twice a day. Here comes Anna right now. Hey, sweet baby. They're very sweet girls. She's running to the milk stall now. She thinks that's where I'm going. Not the right time, Clover, not yet. You may remember Clover from a video that I posted a couple months ago where I had her here. She was my cousin's, and my cousin and her husband are both small business owners. They have 2 small businesses, and you know, have small kids and all that stuff. And she was kind of to the point of just being, you know, done trying to meet the needs of having an animal in milk. So these were her last 2 goats, and she blessed us with them a couple weeks ago, and we love them. I actually have all Nubians, and these are my first La Manchas, and we really like their milk. It's very sweet. It's notably different. I'm excited for my Nubians to get back in milk this year, so we can kind of do a taste test and see. But I think that there's a good possibility that I like these girls' milk better. So the thing that I wanted to talk about with you guys today was what we look for whenever a goat is getting ready to kid. Now, you may remember, but we had some issues at the end of last year because we had put our girls in with our young bucks to breed, and the boys just weren't getting the job done. The girls just kept going back into heat, and it turns out the boys were having a hard time reaching. They were too small, and we ended up bringing in another buck who was fully grown, but not until January. So we are having a very late kidding season, and unfortunately it's very hot for kidding season. So we're really just hoping everything goes okay as far as the heat. But right now it's May, and we are about 3 weeks until their due dates would be if they got pregnant by the adult buck. Now, there was always a chance that one of them, you know, happened to be pregnant by one of the younger boys. We didn't think so, but there was always a chance one of them might kid before, you know, June 7th. If they go after June 7th, then I'll know that it was Mr. Darcy that sired their kids. One, I'm not sure about. I think almost all of them are going to be after June 7th, but one might end up kidding before then. Miriam right here in the back, that has the white collar on. This is, she was my second goat, and this is her first year to kid. She's actually almost 3, but she did not get bred last year. We put her in with a buck, but it did not take. And as you can see, she's looking pretty large and in charge right now. Aren't you, Mary? So I want to show you some of the things that we're going to look at to see how close she is. Let's take her into the milking stall. Come on, girlie, let's go. Come on. One of the things that I do with my goats whenever they are first fresheners and they're getting ready to kid for the first time, which I'm getting bombarded here. There have been more times than one that I have been in this position at the milk stall being completely stampeded by goats that I might have declared a time or two that I hate goats. I don't really mean it, but I am going to turn the camera off now so we don't get to that point. Yeah, so that definitely turned into an I hate goats moment. It doesn't help that it's like 90 degrees, but we need to come up with some sort of like buffering area between the door to the milk stall and the population of goats, because in here is feed and feed, and they know it, and so they kind of like rush me at the door. And sometimes if they're feeling extra cantankerous, they'll start pushing past me, and you know, I'm trying to like push them back and regaining my composure. I'll tell you about this goat now. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure when Miriam is due, but I know it's very soon. And since she's a first freshener, she's never been milked before. So every day I am bringing her in here and putting her on the stand and giving her some food. Really, right now she's just eating pellet alfalfa, because that's not going to be too much grain for her. It's just be some extra nutrients, and it's a tasty treat. And I'm monitoring her really closely. During the time that she's on the milk stand, she's getting used to being on the stand and getting prepared to be milked every day. That way she's not figuring it out for the first time when it's very important, because, you know, we're going to be pulling kids this year and bottle feeding them. So it's really important that we successfully milk them so we don't get any infection, so their supply doesn't suffer. So milk stand training is a really important part of that. Now, while she's up here on the stand, there are just a couple of things that I'm looking at to see how close I think she is to kid. First thing is I'm checking ligaments. If you do any sort of reading about how to tell when a goat's going to kid, this is what people are going to say to you, is to check their ligaments. And if you've never done that before, never seen it done, you might not know exactly what you're looking for. So this spot right above the goat's tail, you can see on the side of her tail, this is her tailbone. You can feel right next to here, and you can see how sunken this looks. That is because she is pretty close to kid. Now it starts sinking in. Now right now I can feel these ligaments, and it's right here. There's a muscle. It feels a lot like a pencil on each side, and I can still feel her ligaments. That means while it's really loose, that means we're getting close, and it is sunken in, that means we're getting close. The fact that I can still feel her ligaments means she's not in an imminent place of kidding. Usually they say when the ligaments are gone, you'll have kids within 24 hours. Now check them when they're standing up. Their ligaments feel pretty squishy when they're laying down, even if they've got a month left. So make sure they're standing up so you can feel those places. If your goat is kind of far off from kidding, this will feel really solid. It won't be sunken, and those muscles won't even really feel like pencils. You'll definitely be able to feel the definition, but it's real hard here. Now she's starting to get real pliable and sunken in, but I wouldn't say she's going to be kidding here in the next 24 hours or anything. Now let's get personal with Miriam. The other thing that I'm keeping an eye on here is her udder, which she's pretty good about letting me touch. That's one of the parts of milk stand training. When I get her up here, I come and I feel her udder real good and see how she's starting to get kind of round and full. This is another sign of being really close. Now this really differentiates between goat. She is a first freshener, so we're seeing her udder up. Now, if a goat's kidded before, this might look different, but generally right before they kid, their milk comes in and you can really tell how tight their udder gets and how full. One more thing to look for, and of course this is a sign of very imminent birth, and that is any sort of discharge or goo or anything like that that's coming out of their vaginal region. It's pretty obvious whenever they're close. It's not just like a drop house sometimes there whenever they pee, but there's actual like whitish discharge that comes out. So whenever you see the long strand of it, you better be ready because the kid is next. Obviously, all of those things aren't like, you know, super, you know, far off indicators. I'm keeping an eye on the udder. I'm feeling the ligaments, but I'll be honest, there have been times that I have monitored a goat for a month and then just woke up in the morning surprised by kids. That does happen. Because of the fact that my goats are all pretty gentle. I've had them kid in the general population before and it be fine. That's not desirable. I like to put them in a kidding stall to make sure the kids are safe and taken care of, and I like to watch them really close because I want to be there when the kids are born just in case there are complications. However, because I don't know Miriam's exact due date, because there's a pretty large window of when it could be, I'm not isolating her because that's really stressful for a herd animal to be isolated from its herd. So she's just out with everybody else. And like I said, I'm bringing her in here every day, putting her on the milking stall, the milking stand, and kind of looking her over. It's good training for her anyway. Look at this little chick over here. This is a runaway from the grow out pen. Oh. I wanted to ask you guys, what kind of things would you like to see from our channel? Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of sharing daily life. I figured we could watch these goats as they progress to kidding, and I can share that with y'all, gardening and all of that. But if there's anything specific that you're interested in, you know, if you like to see just the day-to-day stuff, leave us a comment, because that kind of feedback really gives us the direction that we should go as far as this channel is concerned. I'm really excited to share more with y'all. We are definitely in the busy season. Morning to night, there's just always something going on, so there's a lot to share. All right, thanks guys, until next time.